Hello students, welcome to LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Here myself Mr. Jaiswal Kishan from Civil Engineering Department, and we are learning all about earthquake engineering. So let's start our today's session. So today we are learning some more technical theories regarding design philosophy. Let's see. So ductility. So ductility is nothing but a capacity of a structure or say element or a member of a building which undergo large deformation or say displacement without loss of significant strength or its stiffness. Means it is that kind of material in which it can bend or say it will deflect easily without breaking. So it will take the forces without deformation. So here considering two material, look, consider this as a steel rod, and while applying a load from the top it will try to bend. But as soon as we have applied load on this brittle material, let us consider it as a plastic or say any of the brittle material, say a concrete member without reinforcement, so it just broke around. Let's see once again that how it broke on application of load. So look, as soon as the load has been applied, it suddenly broke around. So we are focusing on ductility of a structure. So structure should be ductile enough to resist forces. Now what is ductility? So ductility is nothing but an ultimate displacement upon yield displacement. Ultimate displacement is the final deformation, and yield displacement is nothing but a first time deflection occur in that particular member or a building. Now as ductility is very important characteristic of a building because it reduces the effect of forces on a particular member or a building. So the material we are selecting should be ductile enough to resist the forces. Also, building element constructed with ductile material have a reserve capacity to resist earthquake overloads. Means the elements such as beams, columns and foundation should be ductile enough to resist the earthquake forces beyond its limit or say its strength. Therefore, building constructed to ductile enough material such as steel, adequately reinforced concrete tend to withstand earthquake much better than those constructed of brittle material. As we know that bricks or say masonry building which are of brittle material, they can't take earthquake forces. During earthquake, they just collapse easily. And while our frame structure which are reinforced with the steel, so it can resist forces with a better way. Obviously, whenever we are making the beams and columns, we should be adequately check its ductility. So how? As you have previously studied the subject known as elementary structural design, in that you have learned about URS, under reinforced section. So what under reinforced section says that the steel will achieve its strength before concrete. So what it is that steel will first collapse and then the concrete will collapse. So due to which we have an advantage that as soon as the steel bend or say deform, the time which we having to evacuate the building will be much enough before deformation of the concrete. So we should design a building of a URS section. So one way of achieving ductility in a beam is by designing as an under reinforced section, such that failure of the beam occur by steel reaching its strength in a tension before concrete reaches its strength, as I see. Also, now earthquake resistant building, particularly their main element. As I said, the beams are the main element, the columns are the main element, obviously the foundation which are largely transport the forces are the main element. This element should be detailed with the reinforcement in such a way that the proper ductility is assured. Now these elements need to be built with the ductility in them such building have the ability to sway back and forth. Obviously, as column are ductile enough, then whenever the forces came, they are easily to sway and they don't deform like a brittle material. Now, ductility is one of the most important factors affecting the building performance. Thus, earthquake resistant design strives to predetermine the location where damage takes place and then to provide good detailing. As we know, especially the junction, the beam and column junction, nearby that there are major chances of a failure. So at that point, you must have been noted that major mass or say major number of steel has been provided at that junction because they are likely to deform or say they are likely to open up. So we should provide a proper steel arrangement over there over the connection that the bond should be proper and the behavior of the entire structure will be similar. Obviously, not only beam to column and column to the foundation connection should be also. So this was all about the ductility. Now related to this, next theory is capacity design concept. So it depends on two material like as brittle material as well as the ductile material. This graph you must have noted during the ESD subject. So brittle material, as soon as we apply force, it will resist till its capacity and it will break up. Now let us consider a plastic scale that until its capacity it will resist force and then it will be broken up. And then what about the elastic or say ductile material? So as consider a steel scale, then as we apply force it will take, and at one point it will bend from a particular point. As it loses its elasticity, then it will not regain its shape, and after that we can bend it until its capacity, and if we apply more force there are chances to break it up as considered in a steel rod. So here are the two rods which are considered of same area, same length, but a different material, like as this is of PVC plastic material, say PVC pipe, and this is of a steel rod. We know this is a brittle material and this is a ductile material. Now let us consider one example of a chain. Now this is very important because this formula or say this funda we are applying in our structure design. So these red ones are my brittle material chain and this white or say somewhat blue dots, this is my ductile link. So there are a number of links in which one link is ductile link and others are all brittle. Now if we apply force F, so look here F force has been applied, then what will happen? There will be possibly chances that forces will be equal, but this red links will not deform, but this ductile link will stretch. So what to do? Now if we have applied the force and the force is greater than the strength of these red links, then it will be broken up. These red links will be broken up. And the another case number 2, is when the ductile link, which is this blue and white one, will break if the force is more than its capacity. So what should we have to do? Should we make this entire chain in such a way that this red link will fail first and then this? No. We have to make it such a way that this will reach its capacity first and then this red link. What I am supposed to explain you is that we are designing a beam, let us say concrete reinforced beam, in which we are designing it as a under reinforced section, in which the steel member will lose its capacity first and then concrete will achieve its capacity. The same funda is applied over here, that the red links will not achieve its capacity before this ductile link. So we should be design the structure in such a way that it will be a ductile failure and not as a brittle failure. If it is a brittle failure, then sudden deformation will take place and there are chances of loss of life. And if it is a ductile failure, then there is a chance to evacuate the building so we can survive. So this was the main concept. Also, the link theory is strong column and weak beam. Now, let us discuss, should we make a strong column or should we make a strong beam? Now, if we make strong beam and weaker column, then during the earthquake, what will happen? The column will collapse. Then what to do with the beam? Is it help us in the resisting the forces? No. We should make the strong column and weak beam. I am not saying that we have to design the beam as a weak, but the column should be strong enough than compared to the beam. So what will happen? That during the earthquake, no matter if the beam collapses, then there will no successive destruction. Like if column will fail, there will be chances of entire floor will be fallen up and then successive failure will occur. But in case of beam, if the beam is weak, then there are chances that okay, if a beam fails, there will be no successive progressive failure. So the funda is to make the strong column, then strong beam. So first the beam and the column should be having greater capacity than the beam, and then the foundation should be having greater capacity than the column, because as the beam will transfer forces to the column will transfer the forces to the foundation. So the step by step, the beam should be not stronger than the column and the column should not be stronger than the foundation, and vice versa. So here this is a pictorial representation that strong column weak beam design, or say weak column strong beam design. So look, here it is a weak column, here it is a strong beam. If earthquake came, this column will collapse and then the successive collapse will occur. So in such case, if beam may fail, there will be no successive collapse. So reinforced concrete building design, the beam must be weakest link and not the column. This can be achieved by appropriately sizing the member and providing correct amount of steel reinforcement, as we have learned in ESD. So this is one more, that strong beam and weak column is not allowed, because look, plastic hinge will occur in the column, then the entire building will fall up. If somewhere else the column will achieve its hinge, then this floor will be rest on this and then the entire successive collapse. So what about the strong column and weak beam? No matter if this floor may get damaged, it will not produce till the end. So it is advised to have a strong column and weak beam. The column which receives forces from the beam should be stronger than the beams, as I said, and foundation should be stronger than the columns. So this is the concept of strong column, weak beam. Now here, look, here it is a beam and strong beam and say weak column. So what will happen? Such kind of failure will occur. And what about if strong column and weak beam? There will be no such disaster will occur. Now strong continuous beam on light column, as say figure A, are not appropriate in earthquake prone region. So it is not appropriate. And strong column weak beam, as in shown in figure B, arrangement should be right choice, as it postpone complete collapse of the structure. As I said, there will be no complete collapse of the structure, as the column will take the maximum forces. The following are the reasons to having strong column and weak beam design. So what are the reasons? So failure of the column can affect the stability of the whole building. As I said, if the column fails, then the entire stability will be lost. Even some of them, let us consume that there are 10 columns in the building, and if 2 columns, then also there are chances major collapse of the building. And next is in the weak column structure, plastic deformation is concentrated in particular storage and relatively large ductility factor is required. So as I said, in weak column there will be plastic hinge and relatively it will have the major deformation. Now in both shear and flexure, failure of the column degradation are greater than those yielding of beam. So as I said, if beams are weaker than column, then the collapse of the beam will not much affect the entire structure rather than the column. So this was the theory regarding strong column and weak beam. Now next is flexible structure versus stiff structure. So let's understand about the advantages and disadvantages of this two. So this is just advantage. So disadvantages are of flexible structure and disadvantages of stiff structure. So we require both. Stiff is nothing related to that plastic material, but we require such kind of flexible structure as well as the stiff structure in the building. Let us say flexible structures such as columns and beam, and stiff structure may be considered as a shear wall. They are not stiff, they are ductile enough, but they are stiff as compared to columns and beam. So let us understand about the advantage. So it is suitable for short period sites where the waves are of short period. It is flexible structure are suitable, and for building with long period, like building like as tall structures, it is advantageous to having a flexible structure. It is suitable for long period sites. Now easier to achieve ductility. Obviously flexible are ductile enough. Now easier to reinforce stiff reinforced concrete like a shear wall. So we can reinforce as much as we are having the maximum section size that we can provide maximum number of steel. Now flexible structure are easy to analyze. Now easy to detail non-structure. The elements like as non-structure element, they are easy to detail in the sense of reinforcement. So what are disadvantages? Now it gives high response on long period side. It gives high response on short period side. As we seen over the previous advantages, it's our vice versa. Similarly, flexible frame reinforced concrete is difficult to reinforce. It is difficult to achieve ductility. As we have seen over here that it is easy to ductility and this is not easy for ductility. And flexible frame reinforced concrete is difficult to reinforce. Obviously, there are less section size and obviously there are not much availability of the place where we provide the maximum number of steel. We can't make a junk of steel because we have to design as an under reinforced section. Now it is difficult to detail non-structure and it is difficult to analyze. So this was all about the advantages and disadvantages of flexible structure.